Welcome everybody to my video on how to set up a mandala grid. This is my way of how I set up a grid. I'm sure there are many other ways to do it, but here's how I do it. So these are the tools that I use to set up a grid. I have got my compass and my navigational protractor there, the square grid thing, a couple different rulers, and whatever implement you want to use to draw. I normally do mine in pencil because it ends up getting erased after I've drawn the mandala, but I'm going to do the video in pen so you guys can see it. So first I like to find the exact center of the paper. It's just for my own benefit because I don't like having my mandala end up being, you know, at the very top or at the very bottom of the paper. So yeah, I find the middle of the paper. And then what I do is I figure out how big I want the diameter of my mandala to be, which you can see me do here. I think that one ended up being just over 21 centimeters or something along those lines. And then what I do is I make a line and then I put a mark every half a centimeter. You can do it that many times, or you can do it at a centimeter, 2 centimeters, an inch, a half inch, whatever you feel like doing. That's just how I prefer to do it. I like to have more lines than not when I'm drawing a mandala. It helps keep everything much more symmetrical and not as much room for error. And then once I have those lines all measured out, I start using my protractor, or sorry, my compass. And I just go through and I start adding circles into the mandala. I usually start out the outer circle first and then move inwards, but I'm sure you can start in the middle and work your way outwards, or however you feel like doing the mandala. You will notice that if you look really closely that this grid actually isn't exactly perfect. I don't make every single, like if a circle ends up being, you know, off by just, you know, a millimeter or so, I don't really go back and change it unless it's really, really off. Because I find in the long run that it doesn't make too much of a difference with the mandala. I can usually fix it by eye if it's really messed up. If not, I don't really worry about it. The grid is supposed to be just a guideline. It's just to help you keep things symmetrical and in place. But it's not supposed to, you know, don't feel like it has to be perfect every single time you draw it. Especially since when I do it, I use pencil and end up erasing it, so it's not a big deal. So afterwards, you grab your protractor. Mine is a navigational protractor here. It's a square grid with 360 degrees on it. A normal semicircle protractor will work just as well. This one I just like because it has all 360 degrees on it. And what I do is I make marks every 5 degrees. That's how often I like to have it. It makes it makes a lot of tiny little squares. If you feel like doing it every 10 degrees, every 20 degrees, every 2 degrees, whatever you feel like, how many lines you want to help guide you, that's all up to you. I actually think that it would make a different mandala if you had lines every 10 degrees or every 20 degrees versus every 5 degrees like I do, because your lines won't, I think the shapes will just change slowly. I plan on trying it out in the future. So then once you have all your marks for every 5 degrees, you go through and you start connecting lines. I like drawing it all the way through like this instead of doing it for every quarter of the circle, because I find that the lines don't actually line up all that well if you do every quarter. So I do it, you know, all the way through the circle instead of, you know, halfway through. It just the lines tend to be a bit more in line with each other. So yeah, I go through and put it every 5 degrees. Don't worry if it looks slightly off, or, you know, your line is off by a millimeter. If it's really bugging you, you can go back and change it. If not, don't really worry about it, because in the long run, it's such a small thing and it won't change your mandala. At least this is what I have found. And then I go through and I add in these different degree marks. My favorite are 30, 45, 60, 90, and then all the way around at the same points. I find that when I do a mandala, I either use the 30, 60, 90 when I make my points, and you'll find, like, especially when I do the flower mandalas, that you'll find that I use those points a lot. And then sometimes I feel like using the 45 degrees. It's not very often that I actually combine and use all of them, because I find that the 45 actually throws your eyes off when you use the 30, 60 type of degrees. But then, of course, that's something you can also play with as well. I hope this video was helpful in setting up your own mandala grid, and enjoy what you can do with it.